This is 1980 when I met, 81. I met Linda Gold at Santa Monica College. She was probably my most inspirational technical dance teacher, modern dance. She was very direct in assisting us in really making sure that we were taking care of our bodies. She would tell us, if you're going to go out and find a teacher, like a ballet teacher or a modern dance teacher, you know, go in and watch the class first and watch how the teacher is treating the students. Is it with respect? Is she respecting the body? If they won't let you watch a class, don't even think about having that person as a teacher. She told us that early on. She said, as you're watching, seeing if they're forcing the students to work beyond their capacity, forcing their turnout, forcing their plie, they're doing that, walk out. Find somebody who's working with somebody in that moment within their abilities, and then strengthening as they're working for flexibility. So it wasn't just one over the other. So Linda Gold was, for me, a
powerful,
a wise sage voice at that time when I didn't know I wouldn't know who to seek out.
That's great advice. Wow. Shout out to her if we can find her. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a lovely, lovely woman. She still lives I think she lives in Culver City now.
Okay.
She was head of the dance department at Santa Monica College back in the 80s. Yeah.
And so, you know, I used to go to Dance Home in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And I met a young woman at Dance Home named Kara Masters. And Kara Masters and I became friends. And one night she said, hey, do you want to go to Dance Home with me? A friend of mine told me that this guy, Michael, is going to be there, and that I had to meet him. And she said, my friend wouldn't tell me anything about how I would recognize him, except that he would be the best dancer in the room. So Kara Masters and I headed over to Dance Home. This is like 1993 or something. Yeah. And we sat down, and we both looked at each other, and we said, it's got to be that guy over there in the socks. And you were just, you know, totally throwing down. And it was great, and that was my first exposure to your bald magnificence.
Yeah, she told me that story too, and it was like, and the woman who told her was a student at UCLA. Her name was Nina.
Okay.
I can't remember her last name, but yeah, Nina told Kara, and yeah, she came in, and I remember we danced that night. She came up to me that night. She actually shared the story as we were dancing, or after we finished our first twirl, whirl, whatever. She told me that story, and I was just standing there sort of like feeling a little shy. And how do I take this in? I'm not used to,
Once we knew you, we knew that would be like kind of very awkward for your personality. Oh, shit, what? So where were you at that point in time? Like, what was going on when we connected?
I had just met Gabrielle Roth, and so I had known Gabrielle for, this is 5Rhythms, and I had met her at Esalen 5-day workshop. I came home from the workshop. I told the director of the dance company that I was in I was leaving the company after the next series of performances that I'd committed to, because I had found a totally new direction that really fed my soul, that I was going to be going in. And I left the company, never went back. So I had just met Gabrielle, had left the dance company scene in Los Angeles, and was about to start, because 4 months later, Gabrielle called me into her room and told me that I was going to start teaching without having done the teacher training, because she wasn't offering another one for the next 3 years, and she didn't want me to wait. So I was like, huh?
Exactly my experience teaching yoga, by the way. When I found Anna Forrest, who became a mentor to me, probably like a year or two before I met you, same thing. I'm not doing teacher trainings right now, but I'd love to mentor you, which is such a huge honor. And so terrifying.
And I was just like a deer in the headlights. Are you kidding me? I'm going to do what?
Yeah.
You know, I knew my body knew, you know, how to do the 5 rhythms and, you know, the movement that she was, you know, inviting people. But as far as the languaging or the principle or the philosophy behind it, novice. And she told me, what I'll have you do is, like, she would mentor me, and just she really wanted me to teach with my body early on and not worry about the languaging, not worrying about what the philosophy of the 5 Rhythms was, and really just allow myself to guide through my movement, through modeling my own body. And, you know, I was scared, and I remember my first class in Santa Monica. Kara was there, in that very class. I remember at the end, I told people, I said, well, I'm going to take my first breath now, because literally I had held my breath for, you know, the 2 hours there. And I said, I thanked them for coming, and I said, you know, I'm calling the class Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, which still is. I was the one who named the class Fumbling Towards Ecstasy.
Yeah.
I said, and I'm calling it that for this reason. I said, Gabrielle has a book called Maps to Ecstasy. And I'm going to try to take you to that same place, but I'm going to be fumbling and stumbling along the way. I'm going to be making some mistakes. If you're willing to come with me, then I'll be doing this class again next week, and I'll be doing it until you stop showing up. As long as you continue to show up, I said, I will continue to offer this class.
And we'll fumble together.
No, that class is still going now in Los Angeles. So, yeah, they continue to show up in bigger and bigger numbers. So that was
awesome. And so, were you aware, is it a Sarah McLachlan album?
Say it again?
Were you aware of the name? I think it's a Sarah McLachlan album.
Yes, I had heard the album, and it's like, I saw it and I was like, yeah, I got to use that title. And
I never thought about the intersection.
I didn't ask for permission or anything. It's just,
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool. And so how long were you involved in the 5 Rhythms community and sort of actively teaching from that template?
Yeah. Started in '94. Went, right into it, teaching weekly classes shortly after, twice weekly. The Sunday thing exploded. So probably, I think 2000, 2001, creator of Soul Motion, then Arjuna Marti, who was also a 5 Rhythms teacher back when I met Gabrielle. In fact, when I did, just a quick note, when I did my training 3 years later with Gabrielle, my official 5 Rhythms training, Arjuna was on the teaching staff.
Got it.
It was a year-long training, 3 modules, 60 people, 10 teachers. Arjuna did one exercise during that period, that 1 year period, 3 modules, just one exercise in New York in '98. One of that training that I did in '98, the only exercise I remember, the one Arjuna did.
Kapow.
So I remember sitting or standing there after doing this like 20-minute exercise, and I literally said to myself, if this guy ever does a teacher training, I'd be the first to sign up. 3 years later, he did a teacher training. I was the first to sign up. In 2001. So I did his training in Soul Motion. So I did 5 Rhythms from '94 to like 2001. Did his training not to become a Soul Motion teacher. I did his training really to become a better person. I knew I'd become a better teacher, which I could. My intention was to keep teaching the 5 Rhythms. And I did. After I did his training, which was awesome, came back, continued to teach 5 Rhythms. But then I found as I continued to teach, more and more the language of Soul Motion was starting to come through. The philosophy of Soul Motion was starting to come through. So it might have been a year or so where I was kind of in the middle. Not really committed to one or the other, kind of calling myself 5 Rhythms, but Soul Motion was coming through. So one day I had to look at myself and say, if I'm going to stay in integrity with what I'm offering, I need to come out and say I'm a Soul Motion teacher, because that's what's wanting to come through me. That's what's coming through. And I knew that there would be repercussions in the 5 Rhythm world. The breakup between Arjuna and Gabrielle was not a good split.
As is often the case, right?
As is often the case. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen, but in order for me to be authentic and stay in integrity, I needed to do that. So I literally called Gabrielle on the phone. I said, I'm doing this training with Arjuna, and its work is really, feeling inspirational for me. And I know that, I just told the truth. I know that it's not been a pleasant breakup, but I really think he has a.
Oh, you froze for a second. You really think he has a.
Say again.
You really think he has a. Was where you froze.
He really has. He has something to offer to the world that it's important to me. And, I said I was calling not to ask her permission, but, I'd really love her blessing in this new direction that's coming through me. And she just, Michael, you have my blessing. You always will. And
Beautiful.
And so I got a lot of flack from others in the inner circle of the 5 Rhythms, but never any from Gabrielle. She completely gave me her blessing to seek my truth, which was a beautiful thing.
Really beautiful, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, it says a lot about your relationship with her.
Yeah.
On a person-to-person level beyond anything else.
Another in love, and she knew I, continued to, even whatever I was calling what I was doing, that I would continue to honor the tradition that had really opened the door for me. And I really feel like everything that I've done since the 5 Rhythms, owes a debt of gratitude to that initial, because I wouldn't be here, without that.
Yeah, and that's your foundation. It's interesting. We're having an interesting moment in the yoga world right now too, where there's a group of teachers my age and maybe a little bit younger, who are we're very open to just finding what works and to being influenced by multiple disciplines. And I have this kind of jokey way that I've been talking about it in my yoga classes where I say, it's all one thing, man. Like I pretend to be sort of like the dude, some kind of hippie where I'm like, we cut it all up and we give it different names and we brand everything and we try to lay claim to what the truth is and, my teacher and my lineage. And that can be legitimate in a certain way, but ultimately it's all one thing that we're exploring together. And it's called mind-body practice, or it's called personal growth, or it's called somatic embodiment. And in terms of yoga, it's like there are different schools of thought, and then there's Pilates, and then there's the new data from biomechanical research and from a deeper understanding of anatomy. And unless we keep evolving our forms based on the best information we have and based on what's inspiring and illuminating and turning out to be beneficial in various ways, unless we're open to that, we end up with a very kind of narrow position. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds a lot like when you say there's a beautiful teacher in Europe, in England, Yakov Darling Khan, and he's also broke off from the 5 Rhythms and created his own body of work called movement medicine. And I was taking a workshop from him, and he says, these are all stories that we've come up. Gabrielle's story is there's 5 Rhythms. That's the way she diced it out to be able to give it to people in bite-sized ways so that they could digest.
Brilliantly, yeah.
Yeah, his story is that there's 21 gateways in movement medicines. Vin's story is there's 4 landscapes and 3 platforms. It's all a story that we create so that we can offer it and that people can take it in and say, oh, this resonates the way this is packaged. But it's all diving and dealing from the same well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow. And so
I can continue to be open as well. You talk about, I'm currently in the open floor teacher training. I've gone back to being a student.
Beautiful.
And I'm doing a teacher training. They're the latest offshoot of the 5 Rhythms. The people, Lori, Kathy, and Andrea, the 3 people who had the most experience in the 5 Rhythms, who kind of got kicked to the curb after Gabrielle died. It was I won't go into that, but so they've started their own modality called open floor, and the 3 of them have more wisdom together than any other 3 people on the planet as far as 5 Rhythms goes.
Yeah.
So I was like, why would I not be a student with these 3 people when they've got all this to offer and they're offering a teacher training? Yeah, teaching for 25 years. So what?
Uh-huh.
A beginner's mind, and I'm loving being in this training currently.
Wow.
And
So how long have you been involved with those folks?
Say again?
How long have you been involved with what those folks are offering?
Well, they broke off shortly after Gabrielle died, which was now, 3-4 years ago. They broke off, and then they created a year later maybe a different training called Open Floor. I only did the training right away. She was clear that she was no longer a 5Rhythms teacher, and she wanted to follow Open Floor.
Yeah.
So she did the first training, and because Jalen was 2.5, 3 years old, both of us couldn't do it. So I was like, no, you go and do it. I love soul motion. I'll do it later. So Annalie finished hers after a year. And then I did my first module June of last year in France. So, yeah. And I do the second one next month here in beautiful Port Townsend. Annalie convinced them to do their training up here. It's got a marvelous
that's beautiful
center that we're just walking distance from. So yeah, my second module next month.
Wow.
And I finish, I think, at the end of the year.
Great. Yeah. What might be, and no pressure, but what might be your message or thing that you want to say, thing about yourself that you want to share, or kind of offering to the folks who are here in LA where you spent so much of your time?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to you for continuing the lineage that was started in Los Angeles. I really feel, from the reports I see, on Facebook, and from things I've heard from people like Lori and other people who have been there in person, that you have really cultivated your own gift and stayed true to yourself and offered something, I think, in the same vein as I was trying to cultivate there.
Absolutely.
And I didn't want you to try and duplicate what I did, which you haven't. And I just have deep respect for your continuing and moving onward with what's happening in the movement scene in Los Angeles. So thank you personally. I'm excited that in the vacuum that got created when we left, that so many offerings are springing up. I looked at the sort of website that they have sort of on Facebook that the DJ, LA Collective.
Totally, Dance Collective,
And there's something here and something over here. So I love that people have felt empowered enough to take whatever gifts that they've gotten, whatever they've garnered from myself, from Joe, from Annalie, from you, from other teachers in the Los Angeles area, and say, I'm ready. I want to offer this, and I'm stepping in. I have deep respect for all of them that are doing that. I don't know how much struggles that they're going through, trials, triumphs. I'm sure there's a ride.
That's how it is.
I want to wholeheartedly support each and every one of them as they step further along, and hopefully they're holding hands with one another, and rather than this is my territory Tuesday night, and don't even think about hopefully they're collaborating in some way and supporting one another and not being divisive. That's what I would hope.
I've certainly been trying to create that and foster that, and as always, depending on personality types, some people are really open to that and some people are not. I feel like, especially with the younger up and coming people, I really, it's a funny thing, and maybe you can relate to this as well. As I get older, I have actually a very heartfelt impulse to mentor people and to support people, because I started with nothing. And I came here as kind of a refugee immigrant and worked minimum wage. And, I know you worked for the post office for a long time. Like, I rode the bus and did all sorts of things and lived without a car and have found my way into what I do, partially through my own passion and intensity, but partially because people who were older than me were generous. And said, you're not a threat to me. You're someone I want to support. So, you know, in my own small way, I try to extend myself like that. And also with the peers who are sort of, you know, up and coming, newer sort of space holders, I also really want to have that vibe. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Our new, like, logo, whatever, is grace, gratitude, generosity. You know, those are three things I think are really, like, that I want to continue to offer and cultivate in, you know, people I meet and people from my past and people I'm going to meet. You know, grace, you know, generosity, just continue to just be, and gratitude for all that I have, and, you know, for the teachers that helped me along the way. How can I not, you know, want to help others who are, you know, starting out? You know, I've been did so many times. That's like, for me, like when it comes to things like music and, you know, whether, you know, I'll share with, you know, sure, you can come over to your computer. If a song is really moving you, come over and look, you know.
Yeah.
This is mine. No.
Yeah.
More, you know, and the more I can offer, I truly think the more that, you know, I have capacity to receive.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep giving it away.